3rd, 2026. In the dead of night, a squadron of black helicopters slices through the complex urban terrain, flying just meters above the rooftops. They bypass the air defense grid, insert elite operators, secure a high-value target, Nicolas Maduro, and extract without a single casualty. It sounds like a Hollywood script, but for the unit involved, it was just another Tuesday. They're the Ghost Riders of the U.S. Army. For decades, the Pentagon barely acknowledged their existence. They fly where others can't and weather that grounds commercial jets into the teeth of enemy fire. They are the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this secretive unit. To understand the Night Stalkers, you have to understand the failure that birthed them. We need to wind the clock back to April 1980. Operation Eagle Claw. 52 American hostages were trapped in Tehran. The U.S. military cobbled together a rescue force. But the plan was a structural disaster. It was a pickup game. The helicopters are Sea Stallions, Navy minesweeping helos, not designed for long-range desert infiltration. The pilots are Marines, skilled in overwater flight but untrained for deep desert navigation using night vision goggles, which were primitive at the time. The passengers are Army Delta Force. This mixed bag of services, Navy planes, Marine drivers, Army shooters, led to a fatal lack of cohesion. When the sandstorm hit, the dreaded hubbub, the exhausted pilots became disoriented. At the refueling site, Desert One, tragedy struck. In the swirling dust, a helicopter rotor sliced into C-130 tanker aircraft. A massive fireball consumed both aircraft. 8 servicemen died. The mission was aborted. It was a national humiliation. The subsequent Holloway Commission was brutal. Its conclusion? Special operations cannot rely on ad hoc amateurs. You cannot throw a team together on the weekend and expect them to win the Super Bowl. The Army responded instantly. They took the best pilot from the legendary 101st Airborne Division and formed Task Force 158, which would evolve into the 160th SOAR. The founding pilots called the day. They joined the day the Eagles took off their badges. They left the conventional Army behind to become ghosts. Their mandate was simple: master the darkness. So what makes a Night Stalker helicopter different from a regular Army chopper? Everything. The 160th essentially looks at the factory standard aircraft and says, not good enough. First, let's look at the MH-60M Direct Action Penetrator. This is the aircraft that led the raid on Caracas. It's a Frankenhello in the best possible way. Traditionally, helicopters are either transports, like the Black Hawks, or gunships, such as Apaches. The DAP breaks that rule. It is a Black Hawk transport modified into a flying battleship. It mounts the M230 chain gun, the same cannon found on the Apache. To fit this monster on a transport, engineers had to reinforce the floor and route ammunition belts through the cabin. Its stub wings carry Hellfire missiles and 70mm rockets. Crucially, it retains no troop seats. It's a hunter-killer designed to clear the zone for the other transports. It gives the Night Stalkers organic, heavy fire support that can keep up with the formation speeds. Next is the MH-47G Chinook. Don't let the look fool you. This isn't a flying school bus you see moving cargo. It is a long-range infiltration beast. Notice the long probe sticking out of the nose. That's an aerial refueling boom. This allows the Chinook to fly thousands of miles, topping up from KC-130 tankers in pitch darkness. It turns a tactical helicopter into a strategic asset. It can launch from a carrier in the Arabian Sea and insert a team deep into the Hindu Kush without ever touching the ground. And finally, the killer egg, the AH-6 Little Bird. It's tiny. It looks like a civilian sightseeing chopper. But in the hands of the 160th, it is a scalpel. It can land on rooftops, in narrow alleyways, and insert operators with zero delay. The operators don't sit inside. They ride on external planks, legs dangling in the breeze, ready to step off and shoot in seconds. But the real black magic isn't the guns. It's the sensors. Remember the sandstorm that doomed Eagle Claw? To beat the weather, the 160th uses the APQ-187 Silent Night radar. This system maps the terrain ahead in 3D. It allows pilots to fly blind in heavy rain, fog, or dust storms at 140 knots, less than 100 feet off the ground. While enemy radars are scanning the sky, the Night Stalkers are flying in the radar shadow below the tree line. But the best machine is useless without the right pilot. To join the 160th, you must survive Green Platoon. This isn't just flight school. It is a gut check. In the regular Army, pilots are taught to be safe. Don't fly in bad weather. Don't fly too low. Don't push the airframe. In Green Platoon, the doctrine is inverted. You're taught that the helicopter is just a tool to get the shooter to the target. If the machine breaks, you are still an infantryman. The selection process is brutal. First, they break you physically. You're rucking 16 kilometers with 45 pounds of gear on your back. That is definitely not standard training for pilots. Then comes the tactical phase. Candidates fire thousands of rounds of ammo. They aren't just flying. They're learning to clear rooms, escape and evade, and fight on the ground alongside the operators they carry. And finally, there is the psychological test. This is the killer. It's called the dunker. They strap you into a simulator cockpit, drop you into a deep pool, and flip you upside down in the dark. As water rushes up your nose and you're hanging inverted, you have to stay calm. You have to wait for the violent motion to stop, find a reference point, unbuckle, find the exit, and swim out. If you panic, you fail. The attrition rate is roughly 40%. Those who graduate aren't just pilots, they are Night Stalkers. They embrace a motto that is terrifying in its simplicity. Night Stalkers don't quit. The training is brutal because the missions are unforgiving. Two events define the modern legacy of this unit. First, the Battle of Mogadishu in 1993. This is the story of Black Hawk Down. When Super 6-1 and Super 6-4 were shot down by RPGs, the pilots didn't just crash, they fought. Pilot Mike Durant, despite a broken back and femurs, used his MP-5 submachine gun to defend his crash site against a mob. Above him, two Delta IV snipers, Sugar and Gordon, requested to be inserted into the crash site to protect him. They were flown in by a Night Stalker little bird. The pilots put them on the ground, knowing the odds were impossible. This battle proved that the 160th will fly into hell to retrieve their own. Next is Operation Neptune's Spear in 2011. If Mogadishu was a brawl, this was a surgical strike. The Night Stalkers flew two highly classified stealth Black Hawks from Afghanistan into Pakistan. These aircraft featured radar-absorbent materials and noise-reducing tail rotors, technology the world didn't know existed. But during the hover over the compound, disaster struck. The high walls of the compound created a vortex ring state. The helicopter essentially sucked its own exhaust into the rotor system and lost lift. It wasn't enemy fire, it was physics. The pilot didn't panic. He utilized his training to hard landing the aircraft, essentially crashing it in a controlled manner that saved the lives of every SEAL on board. They completed the mission, killed bin Laden, blew up the secret helicopter, and left. Even when things go wrong, the Night Stalkers make it go right. They hit the target within the plus or minus 30 seconds window required. From a shame of the desert to the triumph in Pakistan, the 160th has been the tip of the spear. But what happens next? The strategic environment is changing. In a conflict with a peer adversary like China or Russia, the airspace will be saturated with advanced missiles. A Black Hawk, stealthy or not, is a big target. The Pentagon recently canceled the Future Attack Reconnaissance Aircraft program, signaling a shift away from new man scout helicopters. This implies a massive evolution for the 160th. They are becoming sky carriers. The future MH-60M might not fly into the target zone. Instead, it will loiter at the edge of the air defense bubble and launch air-launched effects, include suicide drones, decoys, and sensor bots. The Night Stalker of 2030 will be a battle manager, controlling a swarm of robots from the cockpit, using them to clear the path before the humans go in. Technology changes. Tactics change, but the soul of the 160th remains the same. Whether the war is fought in cyberspace or with drone swarms, there will always be a moment, a critical 30-second window, where a human being needs to be put on a specific piece of dirt to do a dangerous job. And as long as that requirement exists, there will be a need for someone to strap on night vision goggles, fire up a modified turbine engine, and fly into the dark. From the secret raid in Venezuela to the unknown missions of tomorrow, the Night Stalkers prove that in the world of special operations, the most dangerous weapon isn't the gunship, it's the pilot. What do you think? With the rise of AI and autonomous drones, is the era of the manned special operations helicopter coming to an end? Or is the man in the loop irreplaceable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.